In this video, we will talk about how consonants are articulated. In describing consonant sounds, we generally take into consideration 5 factors. The first one is the nature of the air stream. The second one is voicing. The third one is the state of the velum. The third one is place of articulation. And the last one is manner of articulation. Let's start with the nature of airstream. There are 3 types of airstream. The first one and the most generally used one is the pulmonic airstream. The second type of airstream is the glottalic airstream mechanism, and there are 2 types, the egressive type and the ingressive type. These are the consonants that are articulated using this type of airstream mechanism. The third type of airstream mechanism is the velaric airstream. It is generally ingressive, and the sounds that are articulated on this airstream are called clicks, and these are the sounds that we have. Let's now move on to voicing. Voicing generally depends on the state of the glottis. If the glottis is open, the air flows freely and there is no vibration of the vocal cords. The sounds that are articulated this way are generally voiceless sounds. The second configuration is that the glottis is closed. In this case, the air flows through a narrowing, which sets the vocal cords into vibration. The sounds we articulate this way are voiced. The third type of configuration is when the glottis is constricted. In this case, the air is stopped and there is no vibration of the vocal cords. The only sound articulated this way is the glottal stop. Let's now see how the sounds on the IPA chart fare with these 3 types of configurations. We'll be circling the voiceless sounds using a red line and the voiced ones using a blue line. Here we go. Now we move on to the state of the velum. The velum can be raised. In this case, we say that there is a velic closure, and what happens in here is that the nasal cavity is unavailable. Here's a representation. The sounds that we articulate this way are called oral sounds, for example, t and d. The second configuration of the velum is when the velum is lowered, and we talk in this case about a velic opening. The nasal cavity in this case is available. Here we go with a representation, and then the nasal sounds are articulated in this type of configuration. Let's see now the sounds that are articulated on this type of configuration on the IPA chart. When there is a velic opening, of course, the sounds are nasal. The remaining sounds are all oral. We now move on to the place of articulation. Places of articulation. The first place of articulation is the one that is related to the lips, and it is referred to as bilabial. The second one is dental. The third one, alveolar. Then palatoalveolar, palatal, velar, uvular, pharyngeal, and glottal. The places of articulation are represented on the IPA chart on the first row. So we have bilabial, glottal at the 2 ends, and then we have the others. We now move on to the manner of articulation. Now, manner of articulation is determined on the basis of the configuration of the vocal tract when the active and passive articulators interact with each other. There are 3 configurations. 1, there is a closure. In this case, the sounds that we have are called stops or plosives. Second, there is a narrowing, and then we articulate fricatives. Third, there is an open approximation, and here we got the approximants. Let's now see how the manners of articulation are represented using this diagram. The first configuration is that of a closure. As you can see, the 2 articulators are firmly brought together. Now here we have a configuration in which we have a narrowing, and then one in which we have an open approximation. Now let's see these actions in reverse. Manner of articulation is represented on the IPA chart as we go down. So we have plosives on top, then we have fricatives, and then we have lateral approximants. A summary. The description of consonant sounds goes as follows.